Hello, teachers and staff of Chino Valley Schools. For those that don't know, I'm John Scholl, your superintendent. I have some important news to share with you, but I wanted to start out by saying end of the first week of school. Everyone has done a fantastic job. As expected, the first day of school was a little rough. It always is. That's nothing new. Just a little bit different chaos that we had this year than in the past. But I wanted to thank you for all the hard work that all our staff members have been doing over this past week. I've heard some positive things from the community. I had an opportunity to hit every school over the last couple of days. I peeked in windows of classrooms. I didn't want to disturb teachers, but peeked in windows. And in most cases, teachers were online with kids, talking with kids, and it was exciting to see. And so you all are doing a fantastic job, and it's noticed, and the community sees that, and we're getting a lot of good feedback. So I do have some news I wanted to share with you, and thought it would be a great opportunity to try out my Google Meet skills. I'm using Google Meet to record this video, even though you're watching it on YouTube. So anyway, today is Thursday, August 13th. And this morning, the Arizona Department of Health Services released the latest benchmark data. And if you recall, the benchmark data, which was initially released last Thursday, is intended to help guide governing boards in their decision of when to open schools. And so with the new data, I wanted to kind of share with you some information. And based on the data that came out this morning, I will be making a recommendation to the governing board at a special board meeting this Tuesday, August 18th, to schedule the beginning of hybrid instruction the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, September 8th. And we'll go a little bit further into hybrid instruction in a little bit. And also, my recommendation will include scheduling the beginning of in-person instruction on the day after fall break, which is Monday, October 19th. Now, both of these recommendations would be contingent on the benchmark data continuing to decrease as it has been, and being in the ranges that I will explain in a little bit. So as long as the data continues to do what it's doing, I think that it's going to be appropriate to go to hybrid and then in-person instruction on those dates. So I want to share with you where the data is coming from and give you a little more data on what it means for us. So I'm going to share my desktop with you, so please bear with me. There we go. Yep, it looks like I'm sharing with you. So let's go here. And so the first thing I want to do to get to where the data is, I'm going to go to azbhs.gov. This is the Arizona Department of Health Services website. Oh, I need a period in there. And of course, oh, I have an extra E in there. That's the problem. Let's go back. There we go. That should be it. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to scroll down on this Department of Health Services website, and I see a button here that says Schools and Universities. I'm actually going to click on that. And then I'm going to scroll down a little further on this page, and there's a map of Arizona. And the map of Arizona has the benchmark data for the entire state. I really don't care what the state benchmark data is. So to get Yavapai County, I'm going to scroll over Yavapai. I'm going to click on that. And I don't know why it's doing it, but it's cutting off some of the information. However, this gives the benchmark data for Yavapai County. And so you can see that the benchmark is met for cases met, or for cases, and this actually says cases, number of cases per 100,000 residents. And to meet the first benchmark, it has to be declining for 2 weeks in a row or less than 100 cases per 100,000. And you can see last week it was at 72 here. and this week's at 62. If you go, just as a hint, if you go over the little bar, it'll tell you what the actual data is, and for past weeks, it will give you that data as well. So I'm going to share with you some data in just a little bit, and this is where I got it from. So the second benchmark is for number of positive cases, and that's positive cases of the PCR test. And the PCR test is the nasal swab. And so that records active cases. And so right now, the benchmark has not been met because the first benchmark is below 7% for 2 weeks in a row. And for the week of July 26, which is the latest available data, it was 6.4. And for the week prior, it was 7.2. And so that is we are below 7 for the first week, and the expectation is that we'll be below 7 next week also. And then the last benchmark is COVID hospital visits for COVID-like illnesses. And the benchmark has been met because it's been below 10% for 2 weeks in a row. And you can see that the data is there. And then if you go back, you can see past data. Now, it's showing that the latest data is July 26. They are 12 days behind, or the data is 12 days lagging. And so the latest data that they have is the week starting July 26th. And then, so the next data will be, I believe, which was the August 2nd or so. And so, or 3rd. So the week of August 3rd. So this is the latest data that we have that we're using to, that I'm sharing with you now. Now, a couple documents that I want to show you on this page are just above this, and there's school benchmarks by county. This is issued by the Department of Health Services, and you can see it kind of summarizes where we are as a county and all the counties. So there's 4 counties that don't meet the benchmark for number of cases. There's percent positivity, no cases, no counties meet that right now. And there's COVID-like cases, and all cases meet that. And I want to mention that what they do is they break up the state into 4 regions. We are, COVID-like cases are lumped in with the northern region, which is us, or Yavapai County, Coconino County, Apache County, and Navajo County. So that's what the north region is. I do want to mention, I looked at all the counties. No one is percent positive right now, has met the benchmark for percent positivity. I do want to say, we have our first week of less than 7. There's some counties that are still above 10% and don't have any weeks below 7. So we are very lucky that our cases are actually going down in Yavapai County. So the other document that I want to share with you is a document that the Department of Health Services put out called Safely Returning to In-Person Instruction. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of these documents or some of these pages in a little bit. But this is it explains what the benchmarks are, what they mean, what they should be in order for various instruction. And so it's worthwhile in looking at that document. So I am now going to go to a PowerPoint presentation that I'll share with you. And of course, this is hiding I believe, right here. So we'll open up. Perfect. And I'm going to go here. So we have just some data I wanted to share with you. So this is from that document, which was the Safely Returning to In-Person Instruction document. And this is information that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the cases. So we talk about the 3 benchmarks. Cases is just strictly cases per 100,000 residents in the county. And just for reference, we have about 240,000 residents in Yavapai County. The percent positivity, again, is what percent of our PCR cases are positive, and the PCR test is the nasal swab. And COVID-like illness is what percent of illnesses that are, what percent of hospitalizations are due to COVID-like illness. And so that's what that is. And then there's the 3 risk ranges. We have minimal risk, moderate risk, and substantial risk. And so there's different benchmarks for, or different numerical ranges for the various benchmarks for each of those risk ranges. And so right now, for cases and COVID-like illness, we are in the moderate range because we are within 10 to 100 cases per 100,000 for cases, and we are between 5 and 10% for COVID-like illness. We have our first week of 2 weeks required to be less than actually 7%. They want you to start below 7, but you can actually go up to 10% once we hit those 2 weeks below 7 and still be in the moderate range for percent positivity. So we now, what does the risk have to do with how we teach? And so what we are saying is that substantial risk, which is where we have been, that we need to do at-home instruction. Once all 3 risk ranges are in the moderate risk, or all 3 benchmarks in are in the moderate risk range, we can go to hybrid instruction, and I'll explain what that means in just a little bit. And then once all 3 benchmarks are in minimal risk, we can go to in-person instruction. So I took the data from the website that I just showed you and kind of just put it in a spreadsheet. For those that know me know that I'm a numbers nerd and spreadsheet nerd. So this is how I see things, and it may not work for you, but hopefully it works for most of you. For cases, the red would indicate the substantial risk, the yellow the moderate risk, and green minimal risk. So for cases, we started out at the beginning of June in moderate risk, went to substantial risk, and have now decreased again to moderate risk, and that would indicate hybrid instruction. Our percent positivity, again, it should be less than 7% for 2 consecutive weeks, and then once that happens, it can go up to 10% once hybrid instruction has begun. It hasn't been below 7, and actually the data has been updated today, even since this morning. I think the 6.6 was actually 6.4, and the 7.8 was at 7.2. So those have been updated today since I made this spreadsheet this morning. But anyway, we are now 1 week into the moderate risk, and the expectation is next week, and based on the data that I've been looking at, we should be in moderate risk again next week. And then lastly, the COVID-like illnesses were well within below the 10% and on the way down for the moderate risk. So it looks like that we will be able to, based on the data, that we should be able to do hybrid instruction. It's not something that we can go from one day at home to the next day hybrid instruction. That's why I am recommending a little bit of time to allow us some time for, there's some administrative stuff as far as scheduling goes, and for staff needs time to be able to think about the hybrid, what it's going to look like, work with their administrators, things like that. So that's important. So hybrid instruction, what the heck is hybrid instruction? This hybrid instruction means that students will be assigned to attend school either on Monday and Wednesday or on Tuesday and Thursday. When students are not at school, they would be working online. Now, this is going to look different for each school, and so you'll be working with your principal on that. Families will continue to have the option to keep their students on at-home learning. And we think that based on the survey that we gave out at the end of June, beginning of July, that about 30% of families will keep their students on at-home instruction. So, with some students still on at-home learning, class sizes would average about 35% of normal. That'd be 70% of the kids involved in the hybrid, and you only take half of those at any one time. So what that means then, if you have a normal class size of 25, your hybrid class size would be about 8 to 9 kids each day. A normal class size of 30, You take 35% of that, would be about a class size of 10 to 11 kids. And then a normal class size of 35 would mean a hybrid class size of about 12 to 13. And then again, principals will work with staff on what hybrid instruction will look like in their building. I guarantee hybrid instruction at Territorial will look a lot different than at the high school. And even within schools, it may look different. So your principals will work with you. We'll have plenty of time to decide what hybrid instruction looks like in your building. This again came from that document, Safely Returning to In-Person Instruction. What does hybrid instruction mean other than the instruction? So for example, things that we're gonna have to focus on: hand hygiene, respiratory etiquette, washing your hands, coughing into your arms, things like that, into your elbow. Enhanced cleaning for our custodial staff, making sure our buildings have proper ventilation. When possible, keep windows open, things like that. We want to monitor absenteeism. Symptom screening, we'll be taking student temperatures and staff temperatures. We need to maintain that physical distancing as much as possible. We have our cloth face coverings. So we're going to have some kind of face cover, or we have our face covering regulation that I sent out to you, so that we will be in place. Cohorting, so we want to make sure our kids stay together as much as possible and don't mix kids if we can avoid it. There's going to be some schools that add that as going to be harder than others, but we're going to do our best. Field trips and large gatherings like assemblies, we won't have those until we are into a minimal risk area. And then lastly, making sure that our communal spaces, places where kids might gather, we control that so that kids don't gather together and maintain that social distancing. So that's what hybrid learning would look like. When we go to the traditional learning, we're going to have hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette. Hopefully we will need to keep that up. Last fall, flu was a problem in the district, and not just the district, in the whole area. And hopefully that hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette can help control some of that. Again, enhanced cleaning to help control that, making sure we have proper ventilation and monitor absenteeism. Those things would continue in the minimal risk category when we're in traditional learning. So I am going to go back to, please be patient with me. We're going to stop sharing. We're going to go back to Meet. So again, that's the recommendation at the board meeting on Tuesday. So you can watch that it'll be streamed live on YouTube. So, and you can get to that link it should be on Facebook or on the district website. So you can take a look and watch what happens. And so again, I want to thank you for all you do. This was a great start to a weird school year, but things have gone well. And I want you to keep up the great work and look forward to the upcoming weeks and the challenges that we are going to have in going to a hybrid model and then an in-person model. But I want to thank you. And if you have any questions, please reach out. The best, easiest way is my email, and it's easy to remember: superintendent@ChinoValleySchools.com. That'll come right to me, and I will respond as best I can. Also, please reach out to your principal, and they will have information as well. But thank you. Have a great weekend, get plenty of rest, and I shall see you next week. So I'm going to sign off, and thank you.